Japan Makes Me Scared, a podcast to the chilling realm of Japanese horror stories. My name is Junpei, and I will invite you to the mysterious world of Kaidan, exploring spine-tingling experiences that have haunted Japan. Konbanwa minasan. Welcome back to another episode of Japan Makes Me Scared. I'm Junpei, your host, and I'm gonna share various horror, scary stories of Kaidan in this podcast. Question of the day: do you like to go for a walk at night? Night means very late, like after midnight. Depending on where you live, it may be unsafe to walk out at night in the first place. But in Japan, I think it is relatively safe, especially in urban residential areas. I don't go out at night anymore because I've got kids and they're still miniature now. But I used to go for walks after midnight as well. The last train left around midnight and there were almost no people on the streets. And I walked through empty, quiet streets there. I would think about something random while I walked, and it would refresh me and give me new ideas. And I remember this feeling and quite liked that. If you have a chance to stay in Japan, you could maybe try to have a night walk in safe areas as well. By the way, in the area where you stay in Japan, you might find a shrine nearby. You know, it's like a church or mosque, so you will see it well blended in the city. It's just part of daily life and nothing special for us. But do not go near it when it's after midnight. One reason, of course, is that shrines are usually closed late at night, but the other reason is you might witness a cursing ritual that you shouldn't see. That's the kind of story I'm going to talk about today. Alright, let's move on to the storytelling part. Episode 24, Ushi no Toki Mairi. This story is from an ex-Shinto priest who had a terrifying experience at a shrine. In a shrine where he used to work, he sometimes had to stay there at night for administrative purposes. The duty was in pairs, taken turns by each priest there. One night, it was his and another priest's turn. Let's call these two A-san as one who told the story, and the other B-san. The most difficult part of the stay was patrolling the shrine grounds. Every 3 hours, one of the two would go around to see if there were any problems within the shrine's territory. Each patrol takes about 15 minutes, so it's not that long. But the shrine is empty at night, so the atmosphere is even more frightening than the one at daytime. On top of that, making the rounds alone is a tough job, so no one would be intimidated by this. Plus, this is not just a mental thing, but also physically hard. Because sometimes drunks or homeless people were sleeping around, and you have to take them out from the shrine and clean up later. Anyway, the first patrol that night went without any problem. A-san came back to the sleeping room and changed his round with B-san. So he got 3 hours until another turn for his patrol. A-san tried to rest until then, but he could not sleep well immediately. When he finally dozed off a little, Hey, wake up, wake up, he heard Bisan's voice. He looked at his watch and saw that it was nearly 2 am. It would soon be his turn again. He woke up his heavy body and looked at Bisan's face. Saying that, Bisan looked a little strange. What is it? Anything wrong? Aisan asked. Do you hear any strange noises? Bisan replied with a slightly nervous look on his face. Aisan listened carefully. Then he could hear the sound. It sounded like something was being struck. What is this sound? It's time for you to make your rounds, so can you go and have a look? Said Bisan. Of course, Aisan was not willing to do that, but it true that there was a possibility that someone was trying to damage the shrine. No choice, I go and have a look around then, said Aisan and left the sleeping room. He was approaching the direction of the noise. The sound seemed to be coming from the woods behind the shrine. As the sound got closer, it sounded more like some metal striking another metal. There shouldn't be any metal in the forest. Aisan felt a little scared, but moved closer to the sound. Then he saw a white silhouette of something in the distance, but it was too dark to see clearly. What is that? Aisan stopped and stared at it intently. As his eyes gradually adjusted to the darkness, the figure became clearer and clearer. It was a woman. She was wearing what looked like a white kimono and was banging a straw dough against a tree. This must be Ushi no Toki Mairi, he thought. Ushi no Toki Mairi, the Japanese cursing ritual performed by visiting a shrine to kill somebody you hate. The performer, who is often a woman, dresses her whole body in a white kimono and paints her face white. Usually, she also puts a headband-like thing on her head with candles attached to it as well. Then, around 1 to 3 am, she brings waraningyo, a straw doll, to the shrine and hammers it to a tree there with some nails. Aisan had heard about this Ushi no Toki Mairi, but it was the first time he had actually witnessed it. It was very frightening, but at the same time, it made him a little curious. What kind of woman would try to put a curse on somebody? Could I see her face somehow? Finally, curiosity was more than fear, and Aisan tried to move a little away, trying not to let the woman notice him, to a position where he could see her face. At that moment, he stepped on some gravel parts, and the sound echoed loudly. The woman then turned around super quickly. Her face was painted white, and her eyes were bloodshot. The candles from the ring on her head dimly illuminated her face. Oh no, she saw me. At the same time that Aisan thought about it, the woman started running towards him, screaming. When he looked closely, she was holding a hammer in her hand. Aisan was so terrified that he ran away immediately. There was no time to stop by the sleeping room where Bisan was staying, so he went straight through the shrine's torii gate at the entrance, down the stairs, and out of the shrine grounds. He then continued running through the town for some time. After a while, he looked back. Apparently, the woman was no longer following him. Then Aishan went to the police station and told the police what had happened. Then they decided to return to the shrine together. When they arrived at the shrine, the woman was not there. But more of that, Bishan, who is supposed to be in the sleeping room, was nowhere to be found as well. In the end, Bishan was never found after that. And sometime later, Aishan also quit his job as a Shinto priest. While Aishan was telling the story, he recalled that time and said, "If it had been Bishan, he'd been in patrol at the time, maybe I wouldn't be here now. I'm not going around that shrine anymore, but I still can't forget the woman's face at the time." Oh, Shimai, thank you very much for listening to the story. How did you find it? Why did that woman run after him? Actually, Ushi no Toki Mairi should be performed for 7 nights continuously, and during that time, you can't be seen by anyone. And if you were, the curse would not be fulfilled, or even worse, the curse would rebound to you somehow. That being said, imagine what kind of person that woman could be. You know, she was thinking about putting a curse on somebody to death in the first place. Then, she could be kind of mental already. So, one theory is, she would kill the witness, then she could pretend that she was never seen. Anyway, if you see a suspicious woman in white walking in a shrine late at night, you better run away immediately. And now you know why. Or do you happen to be the one who wants to perform Ushi no Toki Mairi yourself? Well, I won't stop you, unless you try to curse my family or friends. You've got your own situation, and it would be irresponsible to stop you from having that feeling. But just keep it in mind. Trying to curse somebody is usually not a criminal act, because, you know, you can't really prove if somebody's dead by the curse anyway, at least for the time of this recording. But you're most likely to be charged for trespassing by entering the shrine at night, or distraction of property by hammering Waraningyu, the straw doll, to the tree with stones. I said earlier that I won't stop you, but I want you to understand, it's still a lot better not to do it. Anyway, you have any thoughts on this story as well? I've got a Discord channel where anybody can join and share thoughts and theories. Of course, I'll be there as well. I'm gonna leave a link in the description, so please join and enjoy the interaction if you would. This podcast, Japan Makes Me Scared, is available on almost all popular podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or Amazon Music. Also, if you push the follow button on the app of your choice. First of all, for me, it will be a huge support and motivation, and for you, you will not miss notifications for future episodes. So please consider following my podcast as well. Alright, we're getting close to the end, so let me say one thing. Arigatou gozaimasu again for listening to my podcast, Japan Makes Me Scared, and sayonara for more children thrills next time. Bye!